Krishna. So here in person we have dear Govinda Prabhu, and then Shri Radha, and Rohini, and Kara, and online we have Lakshmi Priya, Damayanti, Anasuya, Nandini, Christy, Pampara, and Kim. Hi Krishna, everyone. And we can start with invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram shaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are in the third canto titled The Status Quo. And we are on chapter 5, which is Vidura talks with Maitreya, and we are on text 11. So 3, 5, 11. 3, 5, 11. And we can start with one Sanskrit word at a time. Ka, Trinupya, Tirtapada, Abhidanat, Shatreshu, Va, Suribi, Idyamanat, Ya, Karnanadim, Purtushasya, Yata, Padapradam, Gearatim, Shinati, Kastrip Nuyatir Tapado Bidanat, Satre Shuvashu Hibir Idyamanat, Yatkarnanadim Purushasya Yato, Bhava Pradam Geharatim Shinati, Kastrip Nuyatir Tapado Bidanat, Satre Shuvashu Suribir Idyamanat, Yatkarnanadim Purushasya Yato, Bhava Pradam Geharatim Shinati, Kastrip Nuyatir Tapado Bidanat, Satre Shuvashu Suribir Idyamanat. Yat Karnanadim Purusha Shanyato. Bhava Padam Ge Tim Shinati. Kastrip Nuyati Tapado Pidanat. Shatre Shuvashu Ibir Idyamanat. Yat Karnanadim Purusha Shanyato. Bhava Padam Ge Avatim Chinati. Kastrip Nuyati Tapado Pidanat. Shatre Shuvashu Ibir Idyamanat. Yat Karnanadim Purusha Shanyato. Bhava Padam Ge Avatim Chinati. Someone online would like to chant the verse?
Kastripnuyatirta padobidhanat.
Kastripnuyati Tapado Vidanat.
Satreshu vasuribir idyamanat.
Satre Shuvashu Ibir Idyamanat.
Yakarnanadim purushasya yato.
Yat Karnanadim Purusha Shanyato.
Bhava pradam giharatim chinati.
Bhava Padam Ge Avatim Chinati. Anybody else in person or online? Kastripnuyati Tapado Vidanat. Satre Shuvashu Ibir Idyamanat. Yat Karnanadim Purusha Shanyato. Bhava Padam Ge Avatim Chinati. I hope someone online knows.
So I just put it out. It's not actually as sick as you think it is.
This I can't read them whether it's I can see how thick or not.
I guess you can't do incense anymore.
It's just
I just turned it on.
Oh, I see. I'm going to put you on mute, Damyantin Gauda. And okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. So one word at a time. Translation. Ka. Who is that man? Tripunayat. That can be satisfied. Tirthapada. Whose lotus feet are all the places of pilgrimage. Abhidanat. From the talks of. Shatreshu. In human society. Va. One who is. Suribi. By great devotees. Idyamanat. One who is so worshipped. Ya. Who? Karnanadim. In the holes of the ears. Purushasya of the man, yata, entering, bhavapadam, that which awards birth and death, ge aratim, family affection, chinati is cut off. Translation: who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talks of the Lord, whose lotus feet are the sum total of all places of pilgrimage, and who is worshipped by great sages and devotees. Such topics can cut off one's bondage to family affection simply by entering the halls of one's ears. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Krishna Katha is so powerful that simply by entering into a person's ear, it can at once give deliverance from the bondage of family affection. Familiar affection is an illusory manifestation of the external energy, and it is the only impetus for all mundane activities. As long as there is mundane activity and the mind is absorbed in such engagements, one has to undergo the repetition of birth and death in the current material nations. People are most influenced by the mode of ignorance, and some are influenced by the passionate mode of material nature. And under the spell of these two modes, a living being is actuated by the material conception of life. The mundane qualities do not allow a living entity to understand his real position. Qualities of both ignorance and passion strongly bind one to the illusory bodily conception of the self. The best among the fools who are thus deluded are those who engage in altruistic activities under the spell of the material modes of passion. Bhagavad Gita, which is direct Krishna Katha, gives humanity the elementary lesson that the body is perishable, and that the consciousness which is spread throughout the body is imperishable. The conscious being, the imperishable self, is eternally existent and cannot be killed under any circumstances, even after the dissolution of the body. Anyone who misunderstands this perishable body to be the self and who works for it in the name of sociology, politics, philanthropy, altruism, nationalism, or internationalism, under the false plea of the bodily conception of life, is certainly a fool and does not know the implication of reality and unreality. Some of them are above the mode of ignorance and passion and are situated in a mode of goodness, but mundane goodness is always contaminated by tinges of ignorance and passion. Mundane goodness can enlighten one that the body and the self are different, and one in goodness is concerned with the self and not the body. But due to being contaminated, those in mundane goodness cannot understand the real nature of the self as a person. Their impersonal conception of the self as distinct from the body keeps them in a mode of goodness within material nature, and unless they are attracted to by Krishna Katha, they will never be liberated from the bondage of material existence. Krishna Katha is the only remedy for all people of the world because it can situate one in pure consciousness of the self and liberate one from material bondage. To preach Krishna Katha all over the world, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, is the greatest missionary activity, and all sensible men and women of the world may join in this great movement started by Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnanajala Shalakaya Chakshud Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Kadati Padam Tikam Vandeham Shigu Shiyuta Padakamalam Shigum Vaishnavam Cha Shirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Sam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpata Ubhyacha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mokanko Tivachram, Pangam Langayate Gayim, Yakrita Tamam Bandesh, Yago Dejatarinam. Hare Krishna, what a nice verse and purport, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I have some notes. But what's happened is that I knew I had some time on Thursday to prepare for class today. So I read the verse, I read the verse and I thought of a few verses and where I wanted to go. And practically every verse I thought about and every direction I wanted to explore. Dear Govinda Prabhu covered it in his class yesterday. It's just like, yeah, you should. Anyhow, so I'm going to read the verse again. Who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord, whose lotus feet are the sum total of all places of pilgrimage, and who is worshipped by great sages and devotees. Such a topic can cut off one's bondage to family affection simply by entering the halls of one's ear. So when I was reading the purport, what came to mind is the pastime of King Kshetraketu. So King Kshetraketu, he was married and he had many, many wives. And the goal of a king is to make sure that he gets progeny, because the Raja Rishis, the pious king, they are protecting the citizen. Their role is to protect the citizen. Of course, in Kali Yoga, the rulers are plunderers. They are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. In Kali Yoga, all rulers are going to be plunderers. But in a Vedic time, it wasn't the case. Like in a Vedic time, the rulers were in charge of the protection, and not simply the protection of the body, the protection of the soul. They were making sure that according to their position in Varnashram, all the citizens were engaged according to their psychophysical nature, but also that they were engaged towards the goal of human life. And they were making sure that whatever process they had of self-realization and God realization, that they were engaged in that. And that's very unfortunate. There is no such a ruler anymore to remind us, to to call us on, to keep us accountable, keep us responsible. It's very interesting because in the seventh canto, at the end of the seventh canto, there is a perfect organization of human society. And there is description of each of the Varna, and all of them have qualities of, qualities to be conducive towards self-realization and God realization, to put God in the center. And in fact, the king himself is a representative of God. So the spiritual master is God, is considered to be God, like a servant God. And the king also is a servant God. So, like some in France, at least, with royalty is not so old. And there is Louis XIV is called the king's son, like the sun Soleil. And they were taking that role, but they didn't really deserve it in France. And that's why people kind of turn it around, because it was not proper anymore. Monarchy wasn't based on the welfare of the citizen. It became based on the welfare of the king, basically, for his own aggrandizement. So King Kshetraketu, as he was ruling, he knew also his responsibilities to have an heir, because at one point or another, a king is going to retire from all his occupation and go to the forest to meditate on Krishna. So right there, we can see that those family affection, the king the king in ancient time, they had family affection, and they were able to let go of their beautiful wife, let go of their children, all their children, grandchildren, and go to the forest to meditate and be fixed on Krishna, like Maharaj Parikshit. We'll speak about him later. Anyway, King Kshetraketu, he wanted a son. And so he wasn't successful at having a son. And then so he was marrying different queens to try again and try again and try again. And he tried many, many times, and he didn't get a son. And then he approached a sage, and I don't remember the name of the sage. And the sage said, okay, if we do a certain sacrifice, then you will get a son. And the sage said, and this son is going to be the source of your greatest joy and the source of your greatest sorrow. That's family life. The source of greatest joy and the source of greatest sorrow. So anyway, after the sacrifice, one of his queen got pregnant. And she got pregnant and she gave birth to a son. And that son was the joy of his father. King Kshetraketu was overjoyed. And then he was, lavishing, like giving everything to that queen. Like she gave him a son. And so she was so special, and he was really taking care of that queen in a special way, spending all his time with that specific queen and the son. And even so, like the other queens kind of, they saw that son as theirs, because that's how it was in the Vedic time. They kind of started to become jealous, because it's the nature of women to be jealous. It's just part of that psychophysical nature, we have different psychophysical nature. So it's said that usually it's when anartha, the woman, tend to struggle with more than, let's say, in a man's body. They struggle less with jealousies than women. So they started to be jealous because the king was not spending any time with them. He was just abandoning them. So they got carried away. Srila Prabhupada explained how they were carried away, because they were pious women. They were kshatriya. They were trained as princesses. They were trained in the proper Vedic paradigm. They were trained to be one of the wives of the king. But they got so carried away by their emotion that they acted upon it. And they plotted together to poison the son, to poison the little boy. And so they did. And then one day, when in the morning, the king came to see his son, and the son was dead. And the mother was there weeping and weeping and weeping. She knew that she was losing her son, but she was losing also her husband. And they were all weeping like that. And now the Muni came on the scene. And now the Muni always come on every scene practically of the Bhagavad Gita. It's like amazing. You always know where there's a place to be. And so he said, okay, I can do something. And he revives the son. And then the son awakened and he said, you look at his father, I say, who are you? Crushing again, very crushing. And he looked at his smile, who are you? And then the father said, I'm your father. He said, which father? Which life? I had so many fathers. I had so many mothers. I had so many family members. I had so many kind of family affection. So which one are you? And after that, of course, the son gave a transcendental knowledge to the father that will help to free. He did his job because the son is in charge also to a grown-up son kind of free his mother. He delivers his mother, so he did his job. He preached transcendental knowledge to understand the transmigration of the soul. We had so many family affection. Maybe even we had family affection for our mommy pig, or our baby pigs, or our babies' amoebas. This morning I had a little grasshopper that came here. It's like a little green grasshopper, so cute. It was just that size. It was just on me. And as that grasshopper probably has a mommy and a daddy. There's nothing special about having a mommy and a daddy. There's nothing special about having children. There is nothing special about family life. We have done that so many times, and that has not saved us from the repetition of birth and death. So to do it again in this lifetime is going to create the same result, isn't it? If we do again and again and again the same thing, expecting a different result, is it the definition of insanity? Yeah. So we have done it so many times, and to expect that this time is going to be different, that it's going to give me what I'm looking for, this nectar, param vijayate, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, like the nectar for which we are always anxious. It's illusion. It's illusion. And I love the word for word. The word for word is really fun here because he said, Purushasya of the man, yata entering. So that's for the ears. Bhava pradam, that which were birth and death. Geya ratim, family affection. So that which awards birth and death is family affection. Sometimes it's family affection in a extended way or sometimes direct way. But what drives the world, Srila Prabhupada explained again and again, is sex life. And sex life is meant for procreation. It's meant to create family life. And yesterday we had a very interesting conversation with Sri Radha. She was quoting from someone who was saying that in Kali Yoga, we don't really know what family affection is. Yeah. And, we can see that, like, even if we go to India, family affection, family ties are stronger. Even now, they are stronger. They have a lot of respect for the elder member of the family. The elder member of the family will come in their family. Usually when the son gets married, he still goes, even in the devotee community, I know, a wife with her husband, she went to live with her in-laws. So the family ties are stronger. And in the Vedic time, like the family affection was part of the culture. And it's no more. In Kali Yoga, it's again in the first canto is described. One of the symptoms of Kali Yoga is that there is quarrel even in household or life. Can you imagine that? Quarrel even in household or life. Impossible to even compute or like imagine that such a thing could happen. But anyway, that's one of the symptoms of Kali Yoga. So because it's so distasteful, and because it's so, then in a sense, it's a boon of Kali Yoga, that family affection, it's easier. It's easier to separate it from parents. I know, when I became a devotee, it wasn't difficult for me to just, I didn't care what my parents thought about me becoming a devotee in my 20s and starting to not eat meat and not enjoy the things they enjoy. It didn't faze me. And I remember there was a young Indian Ambika, her name was Anansuya, from birth, and then she became Ambika. And she was a young Indian that we were speaking with. And she so much wanted to join the ashram, but it was difficult for her because the family affection, the family ties were way stronger. And the respect to mother and father were really high. Like in a Vedic time, children offer obeisances in the morning to their parents. They see their parents are representative of God, representative of Krishna. And even so, they are representative of Krishna. So in a sense, Krishna is in the center. We have Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti, she prays to the Lord when the Lord is about to go back to Dwarka. There is those famous prayer of Queen Kunti, and she prays, please sever those ties of affection, because of those ties of affection, that's why we are seeing again and again a repetition of birth and death. So even Queen Kunti, we can see like it's confusing, it can be bewildering, because our sons are pure devotees. So why will she not want to be attached to her son? And the Vrishni and the Bojas, Vrishnis and Bojas are family members from both sides, mom and dad. And many of them, they are devotees of Krishna. They think of Krishna, they speak about Krishna. They want to worship Krishna. So why would she pray like that? Because she could be aware, understand that within that there is illusion. There is illusion of depending on a fallible soldier. Our tie of affection for our family member, they are based on the illusion that they are going to save us. That somehow there is something comfortable. There is something securing. There is some protection there. And as long as we think like that there is some protection within the context of family life, it's going to bind us because we are attached to something that's not a real shelter. And the real shelter are the lotus feet of Shri Krishna, with, and taking shelter of the lotus feet of Shri Krishna is the same as going to all the places of pilgrimage, it says here. All the places of pilgrimage. People go to places of pilgrimage to get purified from their karma. They go to get liberation, to stop suffering. And all those places of pilgrimage have different quality and boons connected with them. And all of them can be achieved without moving from one's home. We don't need to go to all of them. All we need to do is grab on to the lotus feet of Shri Krishna, like take shelter of the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. And then it's like visiting all the places of pilgrimage. By doing that, we can step out of the material conditional life, which means the fire of conditional life that's burning and illusion ourselves. We always have good reason why to not do that. I need to take care of my family. We have so many obligations. And as soon as we give ourselves to Krishna, we have no more obligation. No more obligation as soon as we give ourselves to Krishna. Because by giving ourselves to Krishna, not only we take care of our children, we take care of our parents, we take care of our grandparents, and 7 generations after and 7 generations before us. So all our obligation to family life is taken care of by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So So a rhetorical question, I like rhetorical question, and there is a verse by Sutta Goswami in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam. Yad anudya sina yukta karma granti nibandhana chidanti ko vidastasya ho na kuryat kataratim. Yeah. With sword in hand, intelligent man cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. So how can we cut the reactionary work like karma? Is by just remembering the personality of Godhead. Yesterday, dear Govinda Prabhu was sharing that during Bhagavatam class, we are all free of karma. To that moment, as you know, as long as we are absorbed, of course, if we are absorbed somewhere else, that's where we are. But as long as we are absorbed in Krishna Katha, in speaking about Krishna, like we are doing during Bhagavatam class, Nasta Pradeshu, Apadeshu, Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloka Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki, by, like just by being absorbed in Srimad Bhagavatam class, like we get to free ourselves from that nuts. And so in sword in hand, so we want to be attentive to that. We want to be attentive to see what is entering the whole of our ears. Is that the whole of our ears? It's interesting. There is some meditation technique, and it's quite powerful meditation technique, which focus, some technique focus on the breath. Still material, the breath, prana, it's material, it's not spiritual. Some, I do mindfulness meditation on Monday morning. I help people to focus with their body, and then I take them to the holy name, and they don't even know what's happening. And then some meditation is about just focusing on the holes of the ears, and like just focusing on the sound vibration coming in and out. So we are exposed to so many sound vibration all the time. And we have choices. What sound vibration I'm going to expose myself to. And if I expose myself to sound vibration, everything is vibration, our body is vibration. So if I expose myself to material sound vibration, like material sound vibration, right? Radio, songs, movies, any material sound vibration, then my consciousness is going to be absorbed in that sound vibration. Our mind, like Cheto Darpanam Arjuna Bhava Mahadava Agni Nirvapanam, like the holy names, it cleans our mind, our heart from all the dust accumulated for years. And birth after birth after birth, we have accumulated dirt inside our heart. It's like a sponge. Sometimes I see my mind as a sponge, and the sponge is like ready to absorb everything. And then I'm chanting, and the sponge is they're giving me everything I've been absorbing myself into. So if I put any sound vibration that's not Krishna in my ears, in the holes of my ear, then that's what's coming back, isn't it? That's what is going to come back. When I chant, when I try to focus on Krishna, then my consciousness has been absorbed in a mode of passion, ignorance, and then that's what's come back. And even the mode of goodness in the material world. This morning, it's funny how what we read in the morning always match what happened in the Bhagavatam class, because this morning during Japa, we read that there is no goodness in the world, in the material world. The only goodness is if someone is making a distinction between the body and the self. And Prabhupada repeats that here. And even that goodness is contaminated with passion and ignorance if it's deprived of Krishna Katha. If there is no hearing, even if we come to the platform of Brahman and making a distinction between my body and the self, even from a platform of liberation, as long as there is no Krishna Katha, there is a risk of falling back down because there is nothing to attach ourselves. Our nature is to be attached. So if we don't attach to the lotus feet of Krishna, we are going to attach ourselves to something mundane, material. Maybe it's no more goodness, often is said in the Bhagavad Gita, then the transcendentalists that are coming back come down again because that contamination is not purified from the mode of goodness and passion, from goodness, the contamination of passion and ignorance in goodness, in material goodness, is not purified. So if they are not hearing Krishna Gatya, if we are not worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna, even if we come to a place of liberation, no more material misery. Isn't it? That's what we want, no more material misery. That's not complete. No more material misery doesn't mean I'm with Krishna. No more material misery doesn't mean that I achieve bhakti or anyabhilasita sunyam jnana karma anavitam, like pure devotional service is free. It's free. It's just favorable towards Krishna. Anu Kulina Krishna nu Shilanam Bhakti Uttama. Like it's favorable to Krishna. That's all. It's just favorable to Krishna. And so we are going to come back, and in the Bhagavad Gita it's explained that when those transcendentalists they come back, they do altruism. And that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada is speaking here in his purport. That goodness, material goodness will lead to that. And that's an interesting thing he says. That's probably very shocking. He said, the best among the fools. That's so funny. The best among the fools, well, thus deluded are those who are in altruistic activity under the spell of material mode of passion. So we can say, oh, well, they are very nice, people who do altruistic. But like what I understand here is that someone who is completely covered by the mode of material nature, like ignorance and passion and just self-centered, they don't have enough intelligence, spiritual intelligence, to even like come a little out. But those who are more like in a mode of goodness, they have more intelligence. They have more capacity to understand that there is a personal God behind creation. All those scientists and all, they have more capacity, but they refuse. They refuse the logic. They refuse to see. They refuse to understand. And that's why they are the greatest fools. Like to be completely in ignorance, like there is more hope for the one who is, there is more hope to wake up someone who is sleeping than it's impossible to wake up someone who is pretending to sleep. And that's a distinction. So it's greatest of fool, the one who is pretending to sleep, because it's not possible to wake them up. But someone who is sleeping, yeah, we can make noise. Isn't it sound vibration wake up? Like this morning, I'm sorry. I left my tablet in the kitchen. My tablet rang at 4:15 or something like that. And poor Shirada, she heard it. And so she knocked on my door and I was still sleeping because I have another alarm clock that was at 4:25. And she knocked on my door and she said, "Is that yours?" I say, "Yes." And I was sleeping, so it woke me up. It woke me up, sound vibration. So the sound vibration, that's here to waking us out of our dream of illusion, of family affection, of tie with that material world, the material society. The only sound vibration that will truly wake us up to our original constitutional service. Jivara Swarup, or like the real form, our real form Swarup, Jivara Swarup, Krishna Nityadas, to be an eternal servant of Krishna, is the sound of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Sutta Goswami say, after saying, with swallowing and intelligent man cut through the binding knot of reactionary work, by remembering the personality of Godhead. And he says, therefore, we will not pay attention to his message. So the same rhetorical question that's here, posed by Vidura to Maitreya, we will not do that. Why not? Every other sound are going to take us down. Every sound vibration that comes from the mode of ignorance and passion naturally will lead us to ignorance and passion. And even the sound of goodness, for example, I was also sharing with Sri Radha yesterday. In my life as a devotee, I spent so many hours researching natural healing. I have so much knowledge. What's on the edge of natural healing, herbs, Ayurveda, now Qigong, whatever. I have so much knowledge. For a good 30 years, I have studied herbs and so many things. So I have a lot of knowledge, and it's useless because it's not my profession. You know, if it was my profession, it's natural. We want to be in excellence, but it's not. It's just passion, I guess, passion of mine, but it's in a mode of goodness because it's teaching me to take care of my body in a mode of goodness in a way that I can avoid, like ignorance and passion. But I can see even that sound vibration is taking me, goodness sound vibration, is taking me away from the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. It's taking me away by giving me something to absorb myself, that's in a sense giving an illusion that I can serve myself or that I can do something good for myself. What good can I do for myself? We are all going to die. If I die today because I ate junk food, or if I die in 30 years because I ate carrots, what's the difference? What's the difference? And so I can't, so whatever we put in the ear hole, and then Krishna Katha, to hear about the pastime of Krishna. Yesterday, we had our Krishna book reading. And we read the pastime of Krishna when Akrura come to pick up Krishna Balaram. That's really the saddest part of the Bhagavatam, I think, and of Krishna book. Because, Krishna is there in Vrindavan and all the gopis, older gopis, younger gopis, and gopas, and everybody is like having their eternal pastime with the Lord. And then Akrura come to take Krishna Balaram away, to take them to Mathura to kill Kamsa, really. And the gopis, they don't even know how they can continue to live. And we want to be like that. We want to be like when we are away from Krishna, because sometimes we are close, we feel Krishna, we are absorbed in our japa, or we are in Bhagavatam class, we have moments where we feel absorbed in Krishna consciousness and we feel how satisfying is it. And there is no more satisfaction than that. And so the gopis who were with Krishna, and they didn't think they could maintain their life here. They were trembling, they were like falling apart. And then they started to speak about Krishna. And that was complete consolation. And they continue like that. Like when Uddhava went to visit the gopis, they were mad. They were completely mad. They were just speaking about Krishna constantly. They couldn't even stop for a moment. Because speaking about Krishna was the same for them than being directly in association with Krishna. And what's true for them is true for us too. Like Queen Rukmini, the first queen of Krishna. She never saw Krishna. She's the opposite of the gopis, and the gopis always saw Krishna. Queen Rukmini never saw Krishna. But there was many munis, because she was a queen. They were coming to her palace to see the father, and they were speaking about Krishna. They were just speaking about Krishna. And she heard about Krishna, and she developed like, I just want Krishna. I don't want, and there were so many plans. They were, like princes, they were strong and beautiful and wealthy, everything a woman could want for her husband. She had everything on her feet. They were bowing down before her. And she said, no, I just want Krishna. Just by hearing. So what's available for Rukmini is also available for us. Just by hearing. We can let go. Like recently I was looking at attachment of something like I'm really attached to. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, oh God, why am I attached to that fleeting experience when when all the experience I have in Krishna consciousness, all the experience I have when I am connected with Krishna consciousness, to my level, which may be very, meager, but it doesn't matter. Even if I have a drop of 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 test, that's enough. That drop of a drop of a drop of a drop of a test, it's so much more satisfying than this one thing that I'm very attached to. And I looked at that, I said, oh yeah, it's obvious. It's obvious. It's obvious, even so I may be attached. The pleasure I derive, the satisfaction I derive, the enthusiasm I derive, the desire to absorb myself I derive is nothing in comparison. Just nothing. Just, there is no happiness here. So whatever we are attached to is just the illusion of happiness, but not really satisfaction. So I'm going to read the verse again. Kastripnuyatir tapado vidanat, shatre shuvashuri bir idyamanat, yat karnanadim purusha syayato, bhava pradam geharatim shinati. Who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord? No one. Whose lotus feet are the sum total of all the places of pilgrimage and with worship by great sages and devotees. Such topic can cut off one's bondage to family affection simply entering the halls of one's ear. So there is so much more I wanted to speak about, like usual. But there is one thing I want to say before I open up for that. The last part of Srila Prabhupada's purport is like, the first sentence is, as soon as someone hears about Krishna, already, like in the Nectar of Devotion, it said, it's like the layers and layers of karma are flying like birds, like a flock of birds, like that. So, of course, we want to hear, but the best way to hear is to share. The more we serve Krishna, the more we get Krishna. Param Vijayati Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Lord Chaitanya is Namo Mahavadanyaya avatar, and he's the most magnanimous, and he gives freely love of God. Why and how? He gives freely love of God to his Sankirtan movement. And the Sankirtan movement, the core of it is to share. Even on a material platform, it's a very well-known principle that the more we teach, the more we know. And so in spiritual life, the more we share, we get to absorb ourselves. It's so wonderful. We get to absorb ourselves, and then to pray to be here sitting and sharing Krishna. It's so beneficial. It's so beneficial for the hearer. It's beneficial for us. So in our life, we can, everywhere we go to the grocery store, we can say something about God. It doesn't need to be Krishna, God. We can say something about God. We can say something about the name of God, something about the beauty of his creation. So we can mold our lives that every moment we give the opportunity. Krishna Katha is so powerful that simply by entering into a person's ear, he can at once give deliverance from the bondage of family affection, because people are so stuck in that and suffering so much. And I will read the last sentence too, since I read the first sentence. We read the last sentence too. To preach Krishna Katha all over the world, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, is the greatest missionary activity, and all sensible men and women, all sensible, that means we have sense, we are intelligence, of the world may join in this great movement started by Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for giving your attention. And I look forward to hear your comment, question, sharing, realization. Yes, dear Rohini. Hare Krishna. Very stimulated, and I have a lot
stirring inside. One of the things I was thinking about, one of the things I want to share is that what a gift to be alive right now. Because while being alive when there was a king who was, supporting all the people, the citizens, and such an amazing, it sounds incredible, that kind of, and it seems like the being in Grihastha life, or what we're doing, is, yes, it's very entangling, and it's painful, and there's a lot of suffering there, and it seems like it's the perfect place to want to grab a hold of the lifeline, and that's one thing that's coming up for me, just like feeling gratitude because I think there's a part of me like, oh gosh, what a terrible time to be.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, no, it's actually
Mm-hmm.
a very, very, very grateful for this opportunity. And another thing I wanted to share, I've been seeing a patient for quite a while who's been coming to me and then leaving, like coming back and forth, coming to see me and then having a big dramatic exit, and coming back again and leaving again, and coming again. And this has been happening for maybe 6 months or more now. And part of it has to do with his declining mind. He's like, I think he has some Alzheimer's or dementia. There's something going on there. And anyway, he came in yesterday after coming and going many times, and I'm just like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm here for you if you want to come back. And he comes back, and so he came back yesterday, and he's like has a whole other plan of what he wants for treatment. But then he's sitting across from me, and we have talked about spiritual topics, like a lot of spiritual, and I've talked to him about the Vedas, and I talked to him about Srila Prabhupada. And anyway, he comes in, he says something like, in his very dramatic way that he speaks, like, you've done so much for me, and here that like he goes into his thing, and then he says, but the one thing that you've really done, or he says something that goes, is this, and he takes his phone and he pulls out a kirtan, and he puts the kirtan on the table, and he's playing it on the table, and he's like, and he starts talking about how he's been going on walks, and he's like chanting and the Maha Mantra, and he's telling me about his process with that, and then he goes to shut it off. I was like, no, don't turn it off. Like, no. And so then we just like talked while it was playing, and then it was time for him to get a treatment. And so I had him, we moved to the table, and I said, do you want to keep playing that while you're laying here? And so he was like, okay, let's do that. So I turned off the Healing House music, and he lay there during his treatment with the Maha Mantra on his phone. And a few things are happening for me about this. One is like, I just feel like I'm being reciprocated from Krishna, like Krishna's reciprocating my desire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I feel like I want to give Krishna, but I'm like scared, and I have all this stuff. But I feel like Krishna gave me this soul to like help me serve Krishna, like help me serve. It's like all been arranged so that, and it's like, and also like I left the room yesterday. I was just like, this is healing. Like this is healing. I just
That's really
I'm
healing.
just like, this is healing. And like what I'm doing is like this material, like all this other stuff I'm doing is like this, it's like a facade or something. It's like this, it's not real. Like it's not real. And you know, there's a part of me that's like, when I started thinking about it, I thought, wow, this is like scary, because what does this mean, like, for me? But then I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I can keep doing my work, and I do it, just showing up, and Krishna's gonna show up for me, just the way he did now. And I just be sincere, just continue to be sincere, and chant, and do my duty, and just keep showing, and Krishna will provide those opportunities. And then I think like, wow, what could this be like? Like, what can it look like for me? And then I started thinking, oh, I could bring, because I'm seeing more devotees right now as patients. And I had one devotee ask me if I had any Prabhupada. And I was like, to listen to while he rested. And I said, you know what, I don't right now. But then I was like, I should. Like, I should be playing that all the time. Like, every time a devotee is in here and I should be playing that in the room. So I think I'm going to bring that little box that you gave us.
And it's beautiful kirtan there.
Yeah, so and one more thing I want to share, and that is like, because I also had this other experience recently where I was invited to sing kirtan at the temple with I told you about this story, but with these really nice devotees, Mitra, Sena, and Mahara Prabhus, and they and we practiced and everything, and so I was really excited. And then we got there, and then I walked up to them, and Mitra like totally changed everything. And I was like, well, you'll be in the back now. And I was like, what? I'm not gonna be on the microphone. And I was so upset. I was so disappointed. I had prepared, I was like ready. And then we went into the temple, and I really wasn't singing enough. No one could probably hear me at all. And I had this moment of like seeing Mitra like caring for Mahara, like taking care of her, and like my heart just melted when I saw that. And because at first I was feeling like mad, and like, oh no, I don't want Mitra to look at me, because I don't want him to see, like, he'll see that I'm upset, and I don't want him to know that. And then but then I saw this, and then my heart melted, and he brought this newcomer who's standing next to me, asking me questions. And so I start talking with him and helping him. And then I'm just like, all of a sudden, that anger, or whatever, that disappointment, that whatever was coming up was just like gone. It was just like gone so quickly. And I was like, oh no, I'm supposed to like help this newcomer, and I'm supposed to, this is what I'm supposed to do right now. Like, this is my service. And and I just had this realization later that like only Krishna could give me that moment of just like that. And that, like, I was just, wow, like those moments that I can drop it, my material
Conception.
You know, or whatever it is, like getting entangled in my material, but only I just realized that, like, oh, this is all given, these things are all given to me. Like, it's not me who's doing it. It's like mercy, I'm receiving mercy. And then I thought, like, what about like, okay, well, how did I get there? How do I get? And then it's like, well, is it sincerity? But then who gives that sincerity? Like, who's giving the sincerity? Like, like, because then I thought, is it because I'm sincere that Krishna gave me that? Like, but then doesn't Krishna give me the sincerity too? And so like, I guess I wanted to share that, but then also have that question about is it all karma? Like, am I just receiving my karma? And I'm trying to understand, and where does this sincerity come from? If everything's Krishna's mercy and I'm receiving that, then what's the chicken or the egg? Like, what comes first? And particularly with sincerity, I'm wondering.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I will reflect your first sharing because it's so beautiful. Like, yeah, the Kali Yoga is full of fault. It's full of faults. It's edge of hypocrisy and it's edge of quarrel and hypocrisy. It's full of faults. And it's described also in the first canto that there is one great quality of Kali Yoga, is that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we can free ourselves. And demigods are standing in line to take birth in Kali Yoga because of how easy it is to remember Krishna and to go back to Godhead and to serve Krishna. So yes, and part of that is such a miserable place. It's really difficult to not see that. Like, I'm so surprised when I see once in a while, I meet someone who's telling me, no, it's a beautiful place. And that's really shocking to me. It's so like people are suffering. Have you not like opened the news or look at the people around you or go to Walmart or, you know, look at the air or the vegetable or what's happening here? Anyhow, so like you said, there is a lot of suffering, and you're wishing that maybe you will be in those ancient Vedic time when the king is taking care of everything. And the kings, they took care of everything so much so that they were also in charge of the weather. If the weather was too severe, if there was like thunderstorm or too like hurricane or too much cold, too much heat, the citizens were going to complain to the king. Like that. And there is that story, of course, in Krishna book where like there was a Brahman and he had children dying, you know, like as soon as they were born, they were dying. And then the father, he went to the king and he said, what's happening here? Of course, it's a whole story with Krishna going to see Lord Vishnu and, you know, like that. Or Yamaraj, don't remember, I'm mixing two stories. Anyway, so yes, so there is in Kali Yoga, there is a lot of suffering. And in those sufferings, there is a lot of boons. And because of Lord Chaitanya's movement, because of Srila Prabhupada, we get to transform suffering into a self-realization. We get to turn it around and take that suffering as a blessing, every suffering as a blessing, as something that brings us closer to Krishna. So I appreciate that you're seeing like, yeah, I'm so happy to suffer in family life. And then your story with your patient, yeah, it seems, my understanding is, okay, the symptom of the soul is consciousness, you know, consciousness, the symptom of the soul, consciousness, and the individual soul pervade the whole entire body, the field of activity and the knower of the field. And the activity of the soul is desire. So my sense is that you have more and more a feeling of despondency. Like Vyasadeva, he was despondent because he had written all the Vedas. So he was doing good. He had written, you know, like all the Puranas and the Mahabharata. He was doing so good for the world, but he was so despondent. Something is missing. So you're doing good for the world. You're healing people's body. You're making, you know, they feel better when you leave your office, maybe on emotional level. But at the same time, you feel despondent. Like, I'm not giving the real healing. The real healing is the healing from the material disease. Is the soul getting free from the material disease, and I'm not giving that. So you're feeling that despondency. And out of that despondency, you desire, like Vyasadeva, he was desiring, like, there's something else I need to give to people. And then Narada Muni showed up. He came and he said, yes, it's true. You haven't done a good job here. Even so, you're doing a lot of good. You're doing so much good, but you're not doing the best and the ultra best, which to give directly Krishna. And then he told him, like, okay, glorify Krishna, speak about Krishna. And that's when Vyasadeva gave us the Vedanta Sutra and then the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Amala Purana, it's like a pure Purana. Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. When the sage inquired, Sonaka Rishi inquired to Sutta Goswami, like, where is Krishna gone? It's gone. It's not gone. It's there, the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. So you want to give Krishna, and you have the desire to give Krishna, and then Krishna is reciprocating with you. And recently I was speaking with someone, like, we can see in the pastime of Lord Nishingadev, Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj didn't come to preach to me. Yeah, he hasn't come. I didn't meet Prahlad Maharaj per se. I met Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is an ambassador of the desire of Prahlad Maharaj, and he says that. So Prahlad Maharaj, he desired, he said, I want everyone in a material world, all the conditioned soul to be saved. And through his desire, things unfolded, including Srila Prabhupada coming to the West. So, so we desire, and then, we desire, and, God dispose. We propose and God dispose. So it's not like God is forced to fulfill your desire to have Srila Prabhupada playing in your office. It's not. And at the same time, you have a desire to give more. You feel despondent. You do good work, but you want to do the best. And the best, is to give Krishna consciousness to really heal from the material misery. So Krishna, and that's the thing, is that there is no material impediment to devotional service. We can imagine the material impediment. We can say, oh, because of this and that, I cannot do devotional service. And because of this and that. But the reality is that there is no material impediment to devotional service, none. Because there is, even if I'm in a bed, paralyzed, I can desire. I can desire the welfare of all the living entities. I can desire, like that Brahman who was so poor, he couldn't offer anything to his deities. And he had desire to make grandiose arrangements. And he was worshipping with like gold and cups and plates, and he will buy the most expensive vegetable in his mind. He was desiring to serve the world like the Lord like that. And then his desire was so intense that then he cooked the sweet rice. And in his, meditation, he went to put his finger, and then he got burned. And then, like, he realized, wow, I was in the spiritual world. So desire is the action of the soul. The soul only activities to desire. So we can desire up or down. We can desire Krishna, or we can desire Maya. So our desire, and then Krishna disposed, and is fulfilling our desire. So it's not one or the other. It's not the chicken or the eggs. It's like a co-creation, and then also receiving unconditional mercy. As we cycle to so many species of life, so many universe, life after life. Brahmanda, Brahmiti. And then at one point we become fortunate. Bhagya, we become fortunate, and that fortune is like we meet a pure devotee. And when we meet a pure devotee, then the pure devotee, he reciprocates also with our affection. Like we spoke about material family affection, and we want to develop spiritual family affection. Having affection for Srila Prabhupada, having affection for all the acharyas, having affection for Narada Muni, who always come, having affection to Vidura, having affection for Uddhava that we heard earlier, having affection for Maitreya Rishi. We have such a big family of object of affection if we want to. And then by going there, then we develop more and more desire. Krishna, Yayatamam Prapadanti, that the Lord as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. That's what Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita. And that's Krishna Katha. Srila Prabhupada said Bhagavad Gita is Krishna Katha, is Krishna speaking. He said, as you surrender unto me, I will reward you. I surrender my healing capacity to desire to give the highest to my patient. Okay, I will reward you. Here you have a few patients that you can have kirtan during the time they have needles. Or I reward you like in a temple room, you know, like I can see you let go of your anger and I help you do that for sure. But at the same time, you wanted to, you didn't want to be seen in your anger, you didn't want to hold on to it, you didn't want to go into grungy. I'm helping you and then I'm bringing someone that you can speak about Krishna to. Yeah, you know, our desire is fulfilled. It's such a boon. When Krishna sends us people to speak about Krishna to, you know, it's like a fortune. It's the greatest fortune. It's not our doing. It's not our doing. It's Krishna's fulfilling. He's always sending me people. Oh God, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. You're allowing me. You're serving me. Like that. Yeah.
But doesn't Krishna put the desire in our heart? Like,
Well, it's true and not true because, you know, in that reasoning we can go in impersonalism. We are always individual spiritual soul, part and parcel in Krishna. So of course, as part and parcel, we, you know, like we can say, I'm one with Krishna and there is no individuality. But Krishna said, you are separated part and parcel. So as we are separated from him, and in that way, we have individuality. And we don't want to take that individuality out because then if we take that individuality out, we also take the possibility of relationship with Krishna. So yes, it's like achintya beda beda tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference, inconceivable that the Lord give me my desire, and also I'm separated from Krishna, and I have the power to a small individuality, a small independence. Krishna gives us some independence and free will. And so I can use that. And that's separated from Krishna. Because Krishna's happiness, joy, satisfaction, fulfillment is based on that minute independence that he gives us. Because without that minute independence that he gives us, there will be no pleasure for Krishna. He doesn't want robots. He doesn't want like, oh, you're just doing what I want you to do. There's no pleasure there. So we have a minute independence.
so it's choosing Krishna or choosing
Maya.
Maya. It's
Mhm.
like that's the choice. So it's
That's our independence.
that's our independence.
Mhm. And we can always choose Maya. It's always available. And then Maya herself wants to make sure we choose her until we are really pure. Until she understands, oh, I let go here. At every moment, she can let go. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your sharings and question too. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, it's already 9:30. Still is Saturday, so if anyone wants to have a question or comments.
There's something in the chat.
Would you like to read it, Damayanti?
Okay, it's from Devin. Why don't you read it? I think it's better.
I don't see it on my screen. Okay, I'll go. Okay, contemplating what makes me worshipable as a father. There is nothing extraordinary about it. I find it too many times. Yet children naturally worship and idolize me. And so there is such an opportunity and responsibility to utilize that to be an example for eternal bliss and goal. Thank you. Thank you. That's a very important question. So I'm a servant. I'm definitely not a master. We are all servants. And at the same time, as we serve, we have different responsibility, different role. Sometimes in a seminar, we speak about genuineness. And when we present genuineness, we say, genuineness means to not hide behind roles. I'm your father, you should listen to me because I'm your father. So it's hiding behind roles. And we said genuineness is like, we don't hide behind roles. At the same time, we have different services. So my service as a father is to protect my children, support them to grow in responsible individuals and in worshiping Krishna. And so I take that service seriously, and I in a genuine way, I serve my children by being their parents, not that I'm the master. And I don't have any qualification. Like I have no qualification to speak on Bhagavatam here. I have no qualification to have people coming to the Bhakti Yoga retreat to be supported by me. It's not coming from I'm qualified. It's not coming like that's my prescribed duty. I'm going to do my duty. Not because I'm qualified or not because there's anything special about me. But then my children bowing down before me, it's good for them, even if I have no qualification. Did I respond to your question?
Yes, thank you. I was trying to be available to share and then read my chat, and I see I had a misprint. I was just saying there's nothing extraordinary about it. Like we've done this so many times. You said that, and that hit me. It was good for me to hear this. It's humbling and just takes away like the sort of romance of the novelty of it, or it makes it more novel in a way, and it's like, okay. And then, yes, you responded to my question. I feel understood, and I was just contemplating what you had shared.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was a mom grasshopper maybe one day. So it's like, we want to be romantic and sentimental because it kind of gives juice to that stale human material life. It's so stale. And so we want to add some sentimental, romantic ideas to make it more juicy. But it's still stale. We have done that so many times. Nothing special about being a father.
Yeah, the kids just imitate me, us, the parents, and it's such a special opportunity and responsibility to be in Krishna consciousness, let's say, generally. And then they just naturally will go through those motions and, and pay obeisances and offer flowers and, and like hear Krishna conscious stories, because that's what I'm doing. Yeah. And there's just it's so available too. I mean, it's so available and natural and enlightening to, I'm inspired to increase that. Thank you.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada says exactly. The kids, they will do like their parents. So whatever you do, they are going to do. And then at one point, their free will and independence is going to manifest, and that may change. But until then, to lead them that way is wonderful. Hare Krishna, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hare Bol.